Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Octagon Oracle podcast. We've got quite a bit of catching up to do, haven't we? I put something across my socials over the last week or so, just sort of apologising for the lack of content. The truth is, I love talking about mixed martial arts, and I love this sport, and I really am trying to build something here. But I have had things going off in my real life. Things that have had to take priority over the last couple of weeks or so. On top of that, I had a horrible cold, so if I sound a bit snuffly, then that's why. So apologies again for that. The last time that you saw me or I dropped a podcast out was prior to Jailton Almeida versus Derek Lewis. I made the predictions for that fight card, and I'll obviously give a bit of an update as to where the results lie on that. But obviously since then we've had another event on top of that as well, a massive pay-per-view at UFC 295, which opened up a lot of talking points. And then obviously we're running into UFC Vegas 82 this weekend with Paul Craig and Brendan Allen back at the Apex. So look, what we're going to do is we're going to start with the Almeida and Lewis card, and then we're going to work our way through to this weekend's action. I'm going to give, I'm not going to touch on everything because it'll be a long one, but I am going to talk about some of the points, especially coming out of UFC 295, because I think there's quite a lot of opinions going around about that, and I'm going to chuck my 10p worth in. So, yeah, look, we're going to start with Almeida and Lewis. Prior to this, we're going to go with the main event. I think everybody was aware that Jailton Almeida was a submission king, and was, probably going to out-grapple and submit Derek Lewis. There was always the chance that Derek Lewis would land that big shot, but that wasn't the case, was it? I was disappointed, I'll be honest. My official prediction was Jailton Almeida to win via submission in round one. I thought it would be over nice and quickly, and instead what we got was a 5-round ball fest. Let's be honest, it was a crap fight. It was domination pretty much from start to finish from Jailton Almeida, but didn't really do anything with it. And I've seen him since sort of talking about fights with Cyril Gane and sort of looking up the chain, and of course he's going to call for that. Why wouldn't he? But if I'm being completely honest, his performance on that night didn't really, it's not really the sort of performance that you call someone out off the back of. Let's be honest, Cyril Gane's been comprehensively out-wrestled and beaten that way before. There's obviously when Francis Ngannou turned into a successful wrestler, and obviously John Jones made light work of him doing the same thing. So, as much as I like the call-out, if I'm Cyril Gane, I'm thinking, I don't want any part of that. Not because he can't beat him, because there's always a key to victory and a way to victory. But I just think, why would Cyril Gane accept that? And Almeida's not really caused the hype from that last performance to even warrant that kind of fight. Now, for me, Jailton Almeida was initially booked to fight Curtis Blades. So for me, that's what I'd like to see next. Run the Blades fight back. Let's get that one, because, yeah, sure, Derek Lewis is a big banger and he can always knock anybody out. It's what everyone loves about Derek Lewis. But he doesn't really offer much threat elsewhere in any other department. So the big one was really always going to be a case of what can Almeida do differently, and he didn't show anything different. He just, he kind of strolled his way to victory in a pretty uninspiring fashion. So, for me, I'd like to see him in there with Blades. Blades obviously offers that wrestling pedigree, has the power as well to knock someone out. So, that's the way to go for me. The co-main event, I'm a bit mad with myself and a bit pissed off with this one, if I'm honest, because as I've spoken about before, I do some work at Combat Sports UK. So shout out to the team there. And I'd had a conversation with one of my colleagues, Taylor Collard, and I was saying to Taylor, I think Gabriel Bonfim's going to really struggle with Nicholas Dalby. I expected him to get the victory done, but I said he would have to fight his way to a hard points sort of decision, and I really did see him having issues with Dalby. And then I came on here and I kind of bit into the apple a little bit and said, you know what, I'm going to go with Bonfim by submission in the third round, which obviously didn't happen. You know, I just thought that Nicholas Dalby was tough, durable, and would maybe cause issues with the gas tank of Bonfim. And that's what we saw. So I was thrilled for Nicholas Dalby. Disappointed that I kind of bailed on my pick a little bit, and so I was not completely picking Nicholas Dalby, but I kind of discredited him with my pick on here, so kind of owe Nicholas Dalby an apology for that. Great to see him get a victory and slowed the hype train down to Gabriel Bonfim. The next pick that I did was Nascimento. I had him to win by submission in the third round. That one went to points, so obviously I picked up a point there. The tally's up at the top of the screen in the corner just here, so you'll be able to see that it's tallied up quite a bit. Chao Braulio, I expected him to go out there and get a TKO. I thought he might get it done late in the third round. That didn't happen, but got the points decision victory, so a win there for Braulio. And then the other two picks I had was Petrosian and Ismail Bonfim to win in various methods, but obviously Petrosian fell ill. And Bonfim missed weight, so those fights were pulled from the main card. So from the main card there, what I ended up getting was Jailton Almeida was a point, but I got the way of victory wrong. I went for Gabriel Bonfim, so nothing there. I got Nascimento to win, but I had him by submission, so I got a point for the win, but nothing for the bonus. Braulio I had for the win, but by TKO, so no point. Petrosian and Bonfim were obviously called off. And then as we go down into the prelims, I said that Fakhretdinov and Dos Santos would get a fight of the night. That didn't quite happen, but it was one hell of a fight. I had Fakhretdinov to win on points. That obviously went to a draw, so that wasn't the case. And then as we look down the card and we look at what's happened, the other picks I had was two bad ones really. I went with Modestas Bukauskas to beat Petrino. He was knocked out badly. Disappointed there, and I also said that sort of threw one of my countrymen under the bus and said Mark Diakese would get beat and perhaps released by the UFC because he just kind of lost himself a little bit. But Diakese did find his way to a points decision win, so a couple of wrong ones in there for me. But then we moved on to UFC 295, and we'll go with the picks first, and then we'll move on to kind of the talking points on it. So, in fact, no, we will go through it fight by fight. Coming into the Pereira Prochazka fight, I was quite confident, and I released a video across social saying this, just a quick one. I thought that Alex Pereira was a cleaner striker. I thought I love Yuri Prochazka. I think he's an incredible talent, and I think he will perhaps be champion one day again. But he is a little bit unorthodox, and he does leave himself open sometimes. And for that reason, I was just a little concerned, and I felt like Alex Pereira would get this done. Now, for me, we're into a position where we got a TKO victory in the second round for Alex Pereira. Now, I actually did predict the TKO. I was just a round out. I went round 3. So, for that one there, 2 points. 1 for the Alex Pereira pick, number 2 for the TKO, but nothing for getting the round, so a win and a bonus there. Tom Aspinall, moving into the co-main. Obviously, Jones and Miocic were booked to fight in the co-main here, and Aspinall and Pavlovich stepped up to replace them on the card after Jones got injured. Tom Aspinall is a phenomenal talent. My pick was actually for Tom to win by submission in the third round. Obviously, he just blitzed Sergey Pavlovich and got it done inside 1. So I took a point for the victory, and that was it. But there's a big talking point here, and I think it's something that needs touching on. It's what's next, because John Jones has quite a significant injury, and he's going to be out for a substantial period of time. Not enough time to warrant sort of relinquishing the belt. But if you're going to bring in the interim, like, I had no issue with the Pavlovich-Aspinall fight. It's incredible. It was an incredible fight, and if I'm honest, I was a little bit concerned just because of the power that Pavlovich possesses. But Jones and Miocic were booked to fight, great. But by the time Jones returns, Stipe will have been sat on the bench now for a long, long period of time. And I know he's the greatest heavyweight of all time, but for me, don't bring in an interim title if the next fight on the champion's return isn't going to be against the title holder. We've seen every single time we see it, they fetch the interim title for Yair Rodriguez, his next fight, Volkanovski. That's how it should work. If you're going to bring in an interim title, you have to put that person next. Otherwise, you're turning this sport into boxing a little bit, and you've got, two different people holding belts in the same weight division, both kind of claiming to be champions. It's not. I love Tom Aspinall, and I was absolutely delighted for him, but I keep seeing things saying you've got a new champion, and he's not the champion. He's the interim champion, and there is a difference, and we've got to keep that narrative. Otherwise, you make it like boxing, and everybody's a champion of something. I think just on that, I do think Tom Aspinall will be champion. I'm not. I'm a little bit concerned about it because I don't like the idea of John and Stipe coming back and fighting. I just don't. That doesn't sit right with me because you've made Tom Aspinall interim champion, but then what? He's supposed to defend the interim belt next. It doesn't quite sit right with me, especially. That's fine if the champion is out for a really, really, really long period of time, but that's not what we've got here. He's out for a while, yes, but we're not talking 2 fights, 3 fights. We're talking, Tom's next fight should be John when he gets back. Tom shouldn't have to fight, the likes of Cyril Gane. And on Cyril Gane as well, just a quick point there. Cyril Gane had absolutely no interest in facing Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall was below him. He wasn't interested. Didn't want the fight. Tom went to Paris, sat there cage side, spoke all week about wanting to fight Cyril Gane, and then Cyril came out and basically ducked him. You could dress it whichever way you like. I like Cyril Gane. I think he's a phenomenal fighter, but he ducked Tom Aspinall. And the only reason he wants to fight now is because he knows that with a win over Tom, his next fight will be for the title. So I know Dana's come out and said that John and Stipe are going to be next and Tom's going to kind of have to wait. It doesn't sit very well with me. I don't expect Tom to fight Jones next, even. What I would like to see is Stipe and Aspinall. Because if Stipe is going to get a shot at the title against John Jones when he returns, then all due respect, despite a phenomenal career, he's still got to earn that shot because there is another contender now. If he was a standout number 1 contender, then fine. But let's be honest, the number 1 contender in the heavyweight division to John Jones' throne right now is Tom Aspinall. And nobody can disagree with that. Well, you can. Drop it in the comments, let me know. But, the reality of the situation is that Tom's the one that everyone's talking about. Tom's the one that's got all the hype. He's got all the obviously he had the injury which kind of held him back. But look at where he'd be if that injury hadn't happened against Curtis Blades. So, if Stipe has no intention of facing Tom, fine. But he relinquishes that position, in my opinion, and Tom Aspinall should be next. But yeah, moving on the card, carrying on there, interesting topics. Big one here, I had Jessica Andrade to bounce back and get the TKO against Mackenzie Dern, so a couple of points there for me. Really happy with that pick. I just felt that Andrade has just been fighting top competition, and my concern for Andrade was that Mackenzie Dern would out-wrestle her, out-grapple her, and kind of go to that wheelhouse, but I also felt a little bit like Mackenzie Dern had fallen in love with her hands a little bit and was going to put herself in some tricky situations, and I just didn't feel like Andrade is the kind of woman that you fuck about with in that game. You play that game, you're going to get hurt, and that's what I said in the video prior to the fights, so wasn't even slightly surprised to see Jessica Andrade do that. And I think as far as Mackenzie Dern's concerned, she's obviously stopped working with Jason Perillo, and Jason Perillo's a boxing coach, and she got knocked out the next fight. It's not quite as simple as that, but she was looking better under Perillo, so making that change, I just thought she was sloppy, she was open, she was there to be hit. So, yeah, really disappointing for Mackenzie Dern, but great to see Jessica Andrade just reminding us all how incredibly dangerous she can be. Next pick that I had was Benoit Saint Denis. Now, I actually said this one would go to points. I thought him and Ferrola would have a fight of the night, back and forward. In fact, I believe one of the predictions that I made was, that this one would be fight of the night. I don't think I was on my own there. I think many people expected that. I don't think anybody expected Benoit St. Denis to run through Matt Favola the way that he did. I think he's an incredible talent and he's absolutely a problem. The last couple of times that I've watched him now, he's just looked better and better. I mean, Thiago Moises last time out was a back and forth slobber knocker and it was really entertaining, and that was kind of my only concern for Benoit in this fight, was that Favola perhaps carries a little more power, and if he was to get into those kind of exchanges again, he would maybe find himself getting clipped and on the wrong end of a knockout defeat. But I was definitely wrong in that aspect. Like I said, I did favour him to get this one done, and the way that he's got it done, he's in for a big fight next. I know he was calling out who's who of the front row, your Poiriers, your Gaethjes, etc. I don't think he's there yet. I think we look a little bit further. I know he mentioned Gamrot and some others there, but he's right there. He's right there. I think a big name for him, somebody at the top around that kind of division. The problem is that there's quite a lot of those guys already matched up, but which is why he was calling for Gaethje and Poirier, for example. But I don't see Dustin or Justin taking that fight. Obviously, Justin sat there waiting for his title opportunity, which I believe, if it's not next, then Charles gets the fight. Then the only way I see Gaethje coming back and fighting is if, like Dana said, that Islam and Oliveira rematch gets pushed to the summer. In which case, I can't see Justin Gaethje waiting that long. But I would see him maybe going for another knock with Poirier or something along that lines. I don't see him giving St. Denis the opportunity to jump to the top at the front of that queue. But if he does, sign me the fuck up, because what a fight that would be. And then I had Lupe Godinez. I did have Lupe Godinez, but before that I had Diego Lopez. One thing that I said in the lead up to this was that if you looked at the odds, Diego Lopez was the underdog, which was fucking phenomenal to me. Now, look, I'm giving picks on here, and if it carries on going as well as it is, then maybe I will start putting some bets on. But I'm not really a betting man. But if I had been, I would have been putting my house on this. It was no disrespect meant anywhere else. I just feel like Diego Lopez is a phenomenal talent. And I just see him getting better and better and better. And I actually said that this would be a first round submission win. So I got a point for Lopez winning. I got a point because it was the first round, but I didn't get the correct method of victory. So no point for that one there. And then moving into the final pick of that card, I had Lupe Godinez to take on Tabitha Ricci. I just felt like Godinez is improving. Definitely seems to be getting better every time we see her, and a bit of a weird scorecard on this one, which needs kind of talking about. But I'm trying to cram quite a lot into this one, so I'm not going to go overboard on it. But yeah, that 30-27 to Tabitha Ricci was just insane. But yeah, I had Lupe Godinez. I had her to win on points, so there's an extra couple of points in there for me as well. Which takes the new tally, everybody, as you can see, to 16 correct predictions, and that's the fight outcomes. Who wins the fight? I've now got 4 wrong instead of none. So over the course of 2 cards, I'll take that. And then in the bonuses there's a couple of bonuses in there as well. So takes the bonus victories up to 4. Yeah, and then the next thing up, like I said, we're back at the Apex. We've got Big Pong Pig taking on Brendan Allen in a Submission King versus Submission King kind of fight. I love this fight. It has the potential to be a terrible fight, because sometimes when you get grappler versus grappler, they're not the most entertaining. But these two also, Paul Craig is better with his hands than he gives himself credit for, and he kind of showed that a little bit last time out. He's obviously a big guy in this division now, given the fact that he's moved down from light heavyweight. I think he will be more confident following the debut at middleweight. I think he's for him to be able to go in there and dominate the way he did and just just to the ground and pound and just to do it the way that he did it wasn't. You look at Paul Craig's last, few wins or so. You're looking at snatching submissions from somewhere, and for him to go out and do it in a different way, I think it just made him feel like an absolute killer, an animal in this division. Brendan Allen's a fucking great talent. I'm a huge fan of Brendan Allen, and I'm right on the fence with this fight, I'm going to be honest with you. I think the problem with Brendan Allen for me is that we've not really seen him step up, and we have seen Paul Craig get, in the same victories over big names in the light heavyweight division. He's got the victory over Ankalaev, he's got the victory over Jamal Hill, the former champ. It's just insane. So I think he's functioned at a higher level, and he's got victories at a higher level than Brendan Allen right now. Again, I've really struggled on which way to go with this one, but I just think that the change in weight class for Paul Craig and coming down, he'll feel like the stronger guy. He'll be flying high with confidence, as will Brendan Allen. But I just think I can just see Paul Craig snapping something here. I can see him. My official pick is a submission in the second round for Paul Craig. There's going to be exchanges in this, and I wouldn't be surprised to see the complete opposite thing happen. This fight can honestly go either way, and it's not one that I would be putting money on, but my official pick is going to be Paul Craig to just latch onto something, just see something and grab it. He loves snatching limbs from nowhere, from no real opportunity. So that's the way I'm going to go, is Paul Craig. I'm also going to go for Morales in the co-main. I think that, Michael Morales has looked superb. Obviously, Jake Matthews, I'm a big fan of Jake Matthews. I love Jake Matthews, and I think Jake's obviously a durable dude. And Morales carries knockout power, but I do think that he'll have to work for this one. I think this is going to go to points. That's my official pick. And then I'm going a little bit off colour, really, with the next pick, because I think, we've got Chase Hooper going in there against Jordan Levitt. Now, I actually think that Jordan Levitt is better than he's given credit for. I think he's seen as a bit of a, fringe UFC kind of fighter, which, let's be honest, he is. But Chase Hooper's also not really proven to be anything above that level just yet. And I think, obviously, Chase getting knocked out badly, and Levitt he does have a couple of knockouts there, and I actually think that Levitt gets this done. Might be a bit of a shock pick, because I'm sure most people, just looking at the odds here, and Chase Hooper's a minus 245 favourite in the States, so but I'm going to go the opposite way. I think Jordan Levitt gets this done, and I'm actually going to say he gets it done by KO in the second round. But an interesting fight nonetheless. There's two picks I'm going to make further on this card. I'm going to go with Amanda Ribas. I think she's up against Luana Pinheiro, and Pinheiro's been great, but I think the last time we saw Amanda Ribas was the fight against Macy Barber, and Macy was amazing on that night, but so was Ribas. It was a great fight. It was just an incredible performance from both ladies, but Macy kind of showed she's got some stones. She survived some scary moments in that, and then went ahead and got the job done with it and got the victory inside the distance over Ribas. But I do think that Ribas is more experienced. I think she's fought at a higher level. I think she's capable of more. And I do think that Luana Pinheiro is going to struggle a little bit here. So I'm going to go for Amanda Ribas by a second round TKO. And then my final pick on the card is going to be Christopher Leroy Duncan. He's in there against Brazilian Cesar Almeida. I'll be honest, don't know too much about Almeida. Christopher Leroy Duncan lost a points decision last time out against Petrosian. I think that shows his level, where he's at right now, because Petrosian's no mug. He's a hell of a fighter. I was actually leaning towards Petrosian, I think, last week. But yeah, obviously that fight fell off. But I do think Christopher Leroy Duncan will return to winning ways, and I think he's going to do so in spectacular fashion. I've got him winning this one by a first round TKO. And that's it for my picks for UFC Vegas 82. Look, I have been a little bit inconsistent. I have had things going off, like I've said. This isn't how I wanted to do it. I've kind of just rushed through 3 cards there in 25 minutes. It's not the way that I want to do it. The plan was and still is that we'll do a review of the fights after the fights, and then later on in the week we'll do a preview show. That is going to happen after this. I will be watching the fights this weekend. I will be putting out a podcast nice and early next week. And it'll be a review of UFC Vegas 82 with the Paul Craig and Brendan Allen fight and everything else on that card. Talking about what's next for each opponent. Sorry, sniffly nose. And yeah, we'll obviously be looking ahead to the next week fights as well, where obviously we have. Who is it next week? Just click on here. Yeah, Beneil Dariush and Arman Tsarukyan. Oh no, sorry, that's not next week. We have a week off by the looks of it. So I will be back on Monday early next week to discuss everything from UFC Vegas this weekend. But then, unless there's some breaking news, you won't see me again until just before the Dariush Tsarukyan fight, which, I'm just going to look down that card just quickly. We've got Beneil Dariush, Arman Tsarukyan. Of course, we've got Dan Hooker and Bobby Green in a 5-round co-main event, which is, if you're not excited for that, what's wrong with you? And then we've got Rob Font against Davison Figueiredo. We've got Sean Brady against Kevin Gastelum. I mean, what a phenomenal card this is. You got Clay Guida's on there, Khalil Roundtree's on there, Misha Tate returns. You got Drakkar Klose on there. Just Veronica Hardy opens the card as well. So yeah, it's a cracking fight card that in Austin. So that's the next time. We'll be back doing picks, but I will be back next week to review everything UFC Vegas, maybe touch on some of the points that we've already gone over today in a little more detail, or any breaking news, because let's be honest, this sport's always throwing something up. So again, thank you for tuning into the Octagon Oracle. YouTube, hit the like, subscribe, and please share across your socials. I am on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok, so please head over to there. And if you are interested in listening on Spotify and Apple Play, etc., I am going to be looking into getting the podcasts uploaded to that channel. I haven't created it as yet, but I am going to be looking into it because I'll be honest, I'm not that tech savvy, so I'm going to have to just study how to get everything uploaded on there, and we'll have to go from there. But thanks once more for listening. We sit at 16-4. I'll take that for now, but I'm hoping it'll be improved following this weekend's events. So enjoy the fights, everybody, and I'll catch you next week. Can't find the button. Do 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 do.